Hello and welcome to Some Seminarians, a podcast both starring and being produced by seminarians of the Archdiocese of San Antonio. My name is Erick Cruz, and today I'm being joined by Jospeh Duque and Dalton Moy. So today we're going to be talking about altar servers in general and our experiences as altar servers and how that helped guide us along in our vocational path in discernment. The three of us have been altar servers for some time, and I think I'll pass this off to Jospeh first to see how long he's been serving.
Well, I started off pretty early, like pretty much as soon as I got my first communion. I think that's like usually the time when most altar servers begin. So I started then, but then I went until like 6th or 7th grade, and then after that I stopped for pretty much until I was in seminary again. so from like 3rd grade to 7th grade, and then since I've been here. Okay. So not a lot of years for me, but not compared to you two, I'm sure.
Dalton?
I also started when I was after I received my first communion, and I did not really stop. I have been going since then, so about 14 years of experience. I was a young adult leader within the altar servers, as well as after I graduated high school, I was the adult coordinator for St. Jerome's.
Wow.
And then now I'm also trained as an MC for the Archdiocese.
Amazing.
Well, we got the pro right here.
So
what about you?
Yes, like both of you, I started serving a little bit after my first communion. And considering what age I am now, I've been serving for around 18 years.
Wow.
I did not stop at all in any of those time periods. Even when I was in other places like college or traveling in missionary work, I never did stop. So 18 years. Actually, funny thing, a couple weeks ago, a month now actually, I was serving with a middle schooler at my home parish, Holy Trinity, and obviously I'm older than she is, so she was like, well, how long have you been serving? That time, 17 years. So I told her so, and she was like, that's longer than I've been alive. I was like, okay. Yes, I've been doing this for a while. Oh dear, but yes, we've been doing this for a while, and so I can imagine that some of us have some funny anecdotes or just things that happen, because what people see is most of the time composed servers that know what they're doing. It's not always the case, especially when we're starting out. So I'm not sure if Jospeh, you have any stories.
Maybe Dalton should start this off.
Okay.
Sure, I can start off. Of course, when I was little, we of course had to learn how to start serving and all that. But it really was when we built a new parish a new church within our parish. And around that time is when we really started getting our program together within the altar servers, and we were very tailored. And we would always have a group of servers that would serve multiple masses throughout Holy Week and different things like that. And I would also be one of the ones to train. And of course, when I was going and learning how to altar serve, there was a number of things that you would expect, different mistakes or different things, but it all worked out pretty well. Of course, I love the thurible. I always did that. There are a number of burn marks in the carpet of my parish that you can remember my presence as the thurifer.
So they're your fault.
Yeah.
Just for our viewers, the thurible is the big thing that the altar servers swing around
for the incense.
It makes all the smoke. And then there was also one point where I was adding a little bit of incense, or a lot of bit of incense, before the Eucharistic prayer, and the church was fogged until after Mass.
Oh no.
Well, I like it because you come out of Mass just smelling.
Oh yeah,
incense.
absolutely.
I love that smell.
I love the smell of incense.
Yeah, and my cassock, the one I had for some time, I cannot get the smell out of that at all.
No matter how many times you wash it.
No matter how many times I wash it. It's funny you mentioned the thurible as well, because I remember for one Holy Saturday, for the Easter Vigil, I wasn't the MC proper, but I was in charge of overseeing the other seminarians serving, and this was during the homily. I was just sitting there trying to pay attention. I'd been serving all Holy Week, and the server I had put in charge of the thurible just taps me on the shoulder. She's like, "Hey, Eric, we have a situation." What's the situation? So the thurible, it's on fire. So young 15, 16-year-old Eric just rushes into the sacristy, composed, because can't make a scene. Just throughout the homily, just trying to put out the fire. Just the whole thing's on a big ball of flame, and the priest is talking about how the Holy Spirit should set us aflame in the homily, and I'm like, no, just the irony of this, but let's try to put this out so that we don't catch the church on fire. It's something I always tell other the younger servers, just because, like, hey, don't do this. It's something she's never going to live down either. I have to remind her often of what she had done. Unintentionally, but it happened.
Yeah.
One thing for me, not embarrassing stories, but like one part of the mass when I was young at my home parish serving, it would always make me so nervous and feel so rushed, because during the Our Father, one of the servers would go with the deacon to the adoration chapel, because that's where the Eucharist was kept.
Uh-huh.
It was like quite a distance, especially for like a kid in elementary school. So I would always feel like really rushed, like almost ready to get there, to go light a candle before the deacon got the Eucharist out of the tabernacle, and then get back pretty much before the Our Father was ended. No. So it was always like a race every single week when I would serve. It just always caused my heart to increase rapidly.
Eric, I think you also have a candle story.
Oh no. Yes. So this was when I was in Ireland at a parish doing missionary work. Mm-hmm. Both of the priests were older. One in his mid to late 70s, the other in his late 50s, both not able to carry the Paschal candle. So who did they choose to carry the Paschal candle? Me. I was not the steadiest at holding it. So what they did was they lit the Paschal candle from the Easter flame, and then they just gave it to me to hold. And they did a procession. I'd never seen this before. They did a procession with the candle around the exterior of the church, and then through the main doors, and then of course the light of Christ going down the aisle. By the time we had placed the candle in the stand, this whole half of my face, the left side, was just covered in candle wax. Ouch. I couldn't see a thing out of the left side, and I had glasses at the time as well, so like the wax was just all on the lens. No. And Father Barry, wonderful man, but he asked, "Eric, are you okay? You're not looking too hot." I'm like, well, what do you think? I have like hot wax on my face. Excuse me for a bit while I go peel this off. I never want to carry the Paschal candle again.
Well, I'm sorry to break it to you. Yes, this is going to happen again.
Yes, it'll happen again, because one day, God willing, we will be pastors and we will be holding the Paschal candle. But hopefully, by that time, I'll have a steadier hand and not have my face covered in wax.
Well, maybe wear a poncho next time.
No. But anyway, as seminarian servers, we've gotten to serve at amazing places and at wonderful events. Some things that come to mind really are like ordinations. Mm-hmm. There was the mass at the cathedral that we did with the Eucharistic procession. Mm-hmm.
For Corpus Christi.
Yeah, for Corpus Christi.
Yes. Yeah.
We get to go out for confirmations and see all these wonderful teens get confirmed to receive another sacrament. in one way or another, we're blessed to be part of the lives of the people because we're seminarians that also serve Mass. I was wondering, like, do you guys have some favorite places that you guys have served at?
For me, I mean, nothing's going to beat my home parish. Nothing's going to beat it at all. But I've served at a number of the ordinations, as well as a number of the events at the cathedral. And the cathedral is very cool to serve at.
It's beautiful.
It's an older building, so with so much history, and I was actually the thurible for that procession for Corpus Christi, and that was interesting because you were my boat.
I was the boat, yes.
And you were having to guide me as I was walking backwards the entire time outside of the cathedral, around the plaza, and
it rained.
Yes, it did have rain. Yeah, and trying to not fall backwards and make a fool of myself. So that was interesting, but it worked out. Yes, and then I've also gotten to use the very large thurible, which it's like insanely huge.
Oh, the one that the cathedral has.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's heavy.
It's heavy.
Oh, yeah, that one's huge.
Oh yeah.
It takes like
it's like almost as big as someone's face.
Yeah, it takes like about 5 charcoals just
Wow.
to light properly.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Which is not fun when you are without a lighter, which has happened to me a number of times. I'm like, where's the candle? Grabbing one of the votive candles from the shrine and just like lighting them from there. I was like, oh no.
How about you, Joseph?
Well, one place that comes to mind was when we served at the chapel at Our Lady of the Lake.
Oh my gosh.
For Sister Jean Ann's retirement. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for her retirement mass. That was beautiful. That was the first time I had been there, so I didn't know what it looked like, but it was just there's something about not only being in a beautiful chapel like that, but also participating and helping to serve in the mass that just like adds so much more to the experience.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But one experience that also comes to mind was for Bishop Gary's Episcopal ordination.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome just because not only like the event itself, like what was taking place, but there are deacons there, there are priests there, there are bishops there,
Cardinal.
and I also got to sit right behind the cardinal.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
you did.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, that was an experience because, I mean, it's not a once in a lifetime event because it happens often, but I mean, just being present, being able to serve the mass where there is the new ordination of a new bishop.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. One of my favorite parts about that mass was when Bishop Gary was going around the proclamation, just look at this. Definitely amazing.
That took so long.
I know,
Yeah.
because he just walks around the whole church. Yeah. I guess for me, one of the most amazing places here in the diocese that I've served, other than my home parish, like is the cathedral. We've been blessed to be able to have served there so often, and especially most recently for the Our Lady of Guadalupe Mass, Vigil Mass in December.
Mm-hmm.
That one was just amazing because I had never been to the celebration at the cathedral. It was always at my home parish. So being able to see like all the matachinas come in and down the center aisle and do their dance for Our Lady of Guadalupe, it was just beautiful. But also, well, that it's within the Archdiocese. I have traveled a bit, as both of you know. So outside of the Archdiocese, some of my favorite places to have served have been in my travels.
Like where?
Okay.
Like here in the country still, or?
Well, there's one in the country,
Okay.
Which was the Basilica of the Sacred Heart at Notre Dame, Indiana.
Oh, okay. Oh.
It's just beautiful, beautiful. And since I was up there for 4 years, like that was my parish, so it was a blessing to have done that. Another would be St. Patrick's Basilica in Montreal, which is also beautiful. The woodwork that the whole church has is just beautiful. And when I was younger, I was blessed to be able to go to on pilgrimage to the Vatican. So along the way, the priest that was leading it asked me to serve a couple of masses. But out of all of them, I think my favorite was St. Peter's. It was a side chapel. It wasn't the big, because that's for the Pope. But just being able to serve in a side chapel at the Vatican.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm never going to be able to replicate that, or
it's
just
everywhere in the
Yes, and then just to think as well, like, how many masses have been said here over the centuries?
Absolutely.
How many saints have maybe stopped and prayed at this place?
Yeah.
The connection of being able to serve mass there for that one time, and just feel the connection to the rest of the ages of the church. Just amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm actually curious to know what attracted both of you to serve.
So actually, I remember looking from the pew before I got my first communion. I was like, I would normally get a little bored during Mass because I was just little at that point. And I remember some of the older kids, they were on the altar doing things. And I was telling my mom, I was like, I want to do that. That seemed interesting. So that's what got me on wanting to be an altar server when I was little. My mom also encouraged that as well because she was an altar server when she was little. She was actually one of the first girls within our parish to be an altar server.
That's cool.
So yeah, she encouraged that as well, and it just kind of sparked for it. I loved it. It was just a way for me to get so close to that amazing thing, the miracle of the Mass, and it's a beautiful opportunity, and it's a little nerve-wracking at some points because everyone's staring at you, but I mean it's not like you're public speaking when you're 7 years old, so you're just in everyone's plain view, so you get used to it. It's just an amazing thing. Then I was so glad to have started so young.
Yeah, I think for me, because my two of my older brothers were already altar serving, so I think when I reached that point, my parents were pretty much like, okay, now it's your turn. You've reached the age, so you can get started. And I think during my first communion Mass, I was able to help up with bringing up the offerings. And I remember feeling very, very glad, very happy that I was able to help out somehow in the Mass. So I think that was a good affirmation to keep going with altar serving, because you get to help out even more than just bringing up the offerings. And I always just liked doing it. It was good for me. It's just a way to help. I mean, literally, as the title says, to help serve during the Mass. You're being a part of the liturgy in a special way, and it was just, at the time I didn't understand everything that was going on, but I just enjoyed being up there, being more interactive during the Mass, and sometimes I was able to serve with my brother, so that was cool. Just being up there with your brother and helping out, and it was just it was always a good experience for me, something I think I looked forward to doing that when I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. For me, it was I didn't have older brothers. I don't have older brothers. This was my mom, a server before. It was an invitation, really. I mean, I had seen servers before before my first communion, and I was interested, but I didn't take that initiative. It was an invitation by the parish priest.
Oh, wow.
Basically, he had said, I think you would be a good altar server. Why don't you start? We can train you to make sure you know everything before you start, and I would like you to serve. So that's how that sort of invitation, the invitation to serve, was what got me started. Of course, it helps as well that once I started serving, the people I knew, friends, were also serving, and then kind of with your older brothers, once I started serving and my brothers came of age to be able to serve, they followed in those footsteps. And it was always, growing up, it was always great to be able to serve with my younger siblings. I don't know what everyone else thought, but I think we were the best altar server team at the parish. But I mean, it's just that sometimes all we need is just that invitation to serve. And that's what happens as well. I've seen, at least with some parishes that I've been at, that invitation is what calls people back. Absolutely. Especially sometimes servers that have left serving because middle school or high school it's no longer cool to serve. As
was the case with me, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the invitation to do so.
But I think there's like altar serving. I think definitely plants seeds for like future vocations, because I heard very recently from Bishop Gary actually how apparently like, I don't know, 70 or somewhere around 70% of like newly ordained priests were altar servers when they were young.
Wow.
So that just goes to show you like how important that is to, I guess, to help foster or plant seeds in the hearts and minds of young men.
Absolutely.
I don't know, what about you two? Did that help you or affect you in any way with like looking at the priesthood?
I would say so, but it wasn't like an initial reaction to serving at first. But it was definitely that longing to serve within the Mass that later showed me, okay, I love to be active within the Mass. I love to be active within my parish. When I was little, I wasn't thinking about becoming a priest. That actually didn't come until I was a senior in high school. But I've been serving for many years before that. There were many people within my parish that had said, "Oh, I think you'll be a great priest because they see me on the altar." That's not to say that just because you're an altar server means you're going to be a priest. But it's that way of inspiring you to serve and inspiring you to say, like, okay, I can do something. I can have an active part within the Mass. Everyone in the Mass and the congregation has an active part, but you're able to sit up there and help the pastor as he is preparing the altar in order for that sacrifice. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is beautiful. For me, it did very much, not influence, but it was a great part of me starting to discern whether or not I wanted to enter. I've said it before, but like one of the first moments where I started thinking about my vocation was during the Mass, as I was serving. I was just kneeling there, getting ready to ring the bells, when I see the parish priest lift up the hosts, and all of a sudden I'm just like, I feel like I want to do that. I was what, 8, 9 years old when I started thinking that, but it was being an altar server in those moments so close to the miracle that is transubstantiation. The changing of the bread and wine to the body and blood. Just being so close to that sort of started a desire within me to do that one day, God willing. So I think what those statistics that Bishop Carey say are very much true. Like being so close to the altar, so close to the sacrifice, sort of inspires in a way. And I think it's beautiful that such a high percentage of servers or priests that are now were once servers. It's just a beautiful testament to what the ministry of being an altar server is.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I do remember from when I was in the seminary still, and even now whenever we have it during Holy Week, I recall being in Mass, being a server within the first pew, and all of the priests are coming in. During the Chrism Mass, they're all reverencing the altar, and especially during the final doxology, when this is like 100 or more priests, all singing it within the parish, and I was like, wow. So I'm sitting here in my cassock and surplice, and listening to all these priests all joining together within the final doxology, and I was like, that could be me. God willing, that could be me one day, and it's a exhilarating experience.
That's like the exact same thing that I think in the Chrism Mass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just love seeing the fraternity of the priesthood.
Yeah.
Pretty much the archdiocese, all the priests in the archdiocese just being present in one space, in one church, celebrating or concelebrating the Mass. And it's just like, it's inspiring for me. Like the first time that I helped serve at the Chrism Mass, like the exact same words as you. I was just like, man, I would love to be a part of that priesthood one day, and hopefully, hopefully it'll happen.
God willing, we just have to continue forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other things, you guys?
I think
Advice for servers or something?
One thing that I have for just any server is don't be afraid of any mess ups that you have. Because I remember when I was little, if I were to do something wrong, I would be like, "Oh no, I just ruined the entire Mass." That's not what it is. Like 9 times out of 10, no one in the pews have noticed. But just keep going, and even if it gets boring after a while, I encourage you to keep going, because it got boring for me when I was in my early teenage years. But my mom encouraged me to keep going, and not only did I have that same awe that I had when I first started altar serving, but it grew so much. And that's what led me to want to be the altar server coordinator when I graduated high school, and just walk with those servers after I became the coordinator. It's a great experience. And I do encourage anyone who is sitting in the pews and they could be an altar server, do it. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I just think it's a great way to help serve our Lord in the Mass. And like what you were saying with like making mess ups or errors during Mass, the priests are forgiving. They understand, especially if you're a young kid. It's okay.
Yes.
They're just glad you're there helping to serve. And I think it inspires the faithful
Absolutely.
at the parish to see young people involved in their faith. So yeah, I would just say, go for it. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah. Well, thank you both of you for joining me today. It was great.
Awesome. Thank you.
For those of you at home or listening online, thank you for joining us today, for listening. You can subscribe to Some Seminarians on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube, a bunch of other platforms that the San Antonio Seminarians are on. Tune in next time for more episodes, and God bless. See ya.